Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into the playbook of one of the most transformative fintech companies out there, Wealthsimple.
Yeah.
And this isn't just a Canadian success story. It's really a strategic journey that offers some pretty profound lessons for, any founder trying to disrupt a big established industry. Our mission today is to analyze exactly how a Toronto startup went from, well, zero to a globally recognized brand.
It's such a fantastic case study
Yeah.
because it wasn't built on novelty alone. I mean, when we analyze Wealthsimple's growth, you see a clear, almost disciplined blueprint.
Right.
Their whole strategy really rests on three core pillars. There's this obsessive focus on design and clarity, an unwavering regulatory discipline, and then successfully converting all of that into deep consumer trust.
So the sources we have really lay out a masterclass in modern finance.
Exactly. From finding that initial market gap all the way to their branding and product choices.
Okay, so let's unpack this, starting with that gap. The founder, Michael Katchen, he launched in 2014. If you were a Canadian investor back then, what was the standard experience like? What was the actual pain point?
Oh, the experience was universally painful,
Mm-hmm.
especially for new or younger investors.
Mm-hmm.
You have to remember, Canada's financial sector is dominated by just a few major players, a tight oligopoly. And these traditional firms, they relied on high management fees, which meant just exorbitant fees eating away at your returns.
And you needed a lot of money to even get in the door.
Exactly. They often demanded these high minimum balances, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars just to get started with any kind of advice. So it was prohibitively expensive and, inherently exclusive.
And intimidating, I'd imagine.
Oh, completely. That was the cultural barrier. The language was deliberately intimidating. It was full of acronyms and jargon, these complicated dashboards.
Mhm.
You felt like you needed an advanced degree just to figure out where your money was going.
It sounds like an environment that was just ripe for disruption. How far behind was Canada at that point, globally?
Significantly. I mean, in
Yeah.
the U.S., you already had companies like Betterment and Wealthfront running successful robo-advisors for years. They were democratizing investing.
And in Europe,
Over in the UK, you had challenger banks like Monzo and Starling that were just completely resetting what consumers expected from mobile banking.
so Canada was conservative.
Very
Uh,
highly regulated, which meant innovation was slower. But that's the key, right?
mm.
That conservatism was also a massive opportunity. If you could navigate the regulations, you'd face low competition and enjoy this incredible customer stickiness. You'd be the trusted, modern alternative.
So that's where Wealthsimple comes in. Their foundational strategy was to attack all that complexity with clarity.
Yes, with clarity. They built a brand that essentially declared war on jargon.
And they did it through design, mostly.
Flawlessly. They just scrapped the traditional financial aesthetic. The clunky, gray, text-heavy banking app. They swapped that for minimalist design, inspired by consumer apps people actually like using, clean lines, simple fonts, and just using everyday language.
That formula seems to pop up in successful fintechs everywhere, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. I mean, look at EcoCash in Zimbabwe. It's simplified mobile money, so it worked even on basic phones. Or Nubank in Brazil, which built a multi-billion-dollar business just by removing all the friction.
So the formula is universal.
Remove complexity, build trust, and meet users exactly where they are, which today is on their phone needing an explanation, not a lecture.
Okay, let's move to what you called their superpower, regulation. Canada's investment environment is heavily supervised. Most startups complain about that, but Wealthsimple did the opposite.
This is the defining part of their story, and all the sources stress it. They knew that in Canada, consumer trust is completely tied to regulatory approval. So instead of trying to, operate on the fringe like the typical Silicon Valley move fast and break things approach,
I leaned into it.
they leaned right into it. They saw regulatory alignment not as a barrier, but as the absolute foundation for scaling.
But surely that slowed them down at the start. I mean, what was the opportunity cost of choosing discipline over pure speed?
And that's the critical tension. It was a conscious strategic trade-off. They chose long-term credibility over short-term, maybe faster growth. They spent a lot of time and resources building robust compliance teams and fostering really strong relationships with regulators.
So they put in the work up front.
They did. And that investment meant that when they needed to scale quickly, like when they launched their commission-free trading platform, that foundation was already secure.
That's a huge lesson, especially when you see what happened to companies that chose speed.
Oh, it provides an immense contrast.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the downfall of Wirecard in Germany, a total oversight failure, or the collapse of some of those crypto exchanges in the US that were operating way out on the edge of compliance.
Right.
Wealthsimple just understood that Canadian consumers won't risk their life savings on a service that feels volatile. So compliance wasn't just required, it was the ultimate signal of trustworthiness. It translated directly into customer confidence.
Okay, let's pivot to their products. They were very staged, very deliberate. They started with robo-advising. How did they make something as, frankly, dry as modern portfolio theory seem accessible?
Right, so that was phase one. The goal was to target new and younger investors who were just overwhelmed. Modern portfolio theory, I mean, at its heart, it's just about minimizing risk through diversification. Wealthsimple did that using low-cost ETFs.
Exchange-traded funds. So basically a basket of stocks that makes diversification cheap and easy.
Precisely. They automated the entire process. A user would answer a simple risk questionnaire way simpler than the forms from traditional brokers, and based on that score, the algorithm would automatically build them a globally diversified portfolio. It just removed 90% of the mental work of investing.
And then came the big one, Wealthsimple trade. This was Canada's answer to the whole Robinhood phenomenon.
It was, but, and this is a critical distinction, it was a responsible answer. They captured the excitement from mobile commission-free trading, but without adopting all the controversial parts.
So they actively avoided the gamification that got Robinhood into so much trouble.
Absolutely. They didn't offer complex options trading or leveraged products. Their in-app messaging was all about long-term passive investing. They embedded all these guardrails.
They chose trust over hype.
Exactly. And that choice has paid off massively in terms of their reputation and, the regulatory stability.
And that measured approach just continued.
Right. That's right. Once they established trust with investing, they expanded to adjacent services. Wealthsimple Cash came next, then Wealthsimple Crypto. But again, their crypto approach was measured, transparent, and fully compliant. They refused to operate at the edge.
It's interesting because that gradual trust-first expansion seems to be a global blueprint for sustainable fintech.
It's the blueprint for ecosystem builders. M-Pesa in Kenya started with transfers, then slowly added loans. TimeBank in South Africa started with simple savings, then moved to credit. Wealthsimple established themselves as the most trustworthy name in one vertical, investing, and then expanded.
Let's talk about the culture they built. You can't talk about them without the branding, the visual identity, the beige, the clean lines. It feels modern and warm at the same time.
The branding is, I would argue, their most powerful asset. The visuals signaled accessibility right away. But the real genius was the cultural dimension. Their ads used relatable storytelling with real people, not stock photos of suits.
And their content arm, Wealthsimple Magazine, positioned them almost as a lifestyle brand, which is just wild for a financial company.
It's so unusual, but so effective. The magazine wasn't just boring investment tips. It tackled bigger cultural topics, financial inequality, interviews with artists. It positioned them as a thought leader, sort of like how Nubank in Brazil became a symbol of economic empowerment. Wealthsimple became the brand for people who felt left out by traditional finance.
And that focus on experience flows right into the UX. People rave about their onboarding process being just radically easier than a bank.
That's behavioral design in action. They systematically eliminated the psychological barriers. The "I don't know where to start" feeling was huge for Canadians. Wealthsimple used clear visuals, one-tap actions, and built education right into the app. They turned hesitation into confident action.
And the timing for all this couldn't have been better.
The timing was impeccable. They launched right when millennials were coming into their earning power, were deeply distrustful of the old banks after 2008, and just demanded mobile-first everything.
It was a generational tailwind.
A huge one. You saw it everywhere. Yoko in South Africa, UPI payments in India. When the slow incumbents failed to deliver a modern experience, the digital disruptors just capture that generational shift instantly.
Let's talk about scaling. A huge moment was securing investment from Power Corporation of Canada. This wasn't just money, was it? This was a massive incumbent validating the upstart.
That deal was monumental, especially in Canada. Power Corporation is one of the country's largest financial institutions. Getting their backing wasn't just about capital. It was instant credibility. It was regulatory mentorship. It was having the deep pockets to compete long-term.
Like a stamp of approval.
A huge one. It's similar to how Grab partnered with major banks in Southeast Asia to legitimize their financial wing.
And despite all this success, they resisted expanding internationally too quickly.
Yeah, and that was a conscious act of discipline. They knew their superpower was understanding the nuances of the Canadian market, so they prioritized domestic dominance over chasing global speed.
A very different approach from some others.
Yeah, you can contrast it with a company like Revolut, which expanded super fast, but then faced significant regulatory friction everywhere because their foundations were too thin. Wealthsimple's choice just reinforced their commitment to long-term trust.
And then the unforeseen factor, the pandemic, that just acted as a massive accelerator.
Oh, it was a huge inflection point that proved their model. When lockdowns hit, people were home, focused on their finances, the markets were volatile, and this huge surge of first-time investors went looking for a simple, mobile way to get in.
And Wealthsimple was ready and waiting.
Their systems, built with all that discipline, handled the stress of massive onboarding. They were perfectly positioned to capitalize on that spike in digital adoption that we saw everywhere, from India to Brazil to right here in Canada.
So if we step back and look at the whole picture, what is the ultimate key takeaway here for you, the listener?
I think the whole story really boils down to the fact that innovation doesn't always have to be reckless. Wealthsimple solved a deep systemic consumer problem. They used elegant design as a competitive shield. And, crucially, they saw the regulatory environment as a field to master, not a hurdle to get around.
So true disruption sometimes requires discipline.
Exactly. Discipline, humility, and a thoughtful, long-term strategy built on one thing: winning and keeping human trust.
That's a powerful conclusion. And for you, the listener, here's the final thought we want you to consider. Given Wealthsimple's model of success through profound regulatory alignment and measured, responsible growth, does this prove that the future of global digital disruption will actually favor these disciplined, compliant players over the fast movers who operate at the edge of the rules?
And if so, what does that mean for how we should approach brand new industries like AI or Web3? It's a fascinating test case for the future of innovation.
A great question to leave it on. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the blueprint of fintech success. We'll see you next time.